we saw you there questioning Kash Patel, and I just keep coming back to this question. Why do you think it is that they won't put these files out?
I don't know, but they're going to have to put them out sooner or later.
Are they covering for people?
I don't know. I have no idea. But I have been saying since the beginning of this, it's not complicated. Here's what the American people are thinking. They've been listening to all this for several years, and they followed it pretty closely. And here's what they're thinking. Okay, Epstein was a pig. Epstein trafficked young women, some of whom were minors. He trafficked them in part, or maybe in whole, to himself. But he had a lot of friends and a lot of important people. Who else did he traffic these young girls to? Now that's a very appropriate question. And the Justice Department, to which the president has kicked this issue, is going to have to answer that. It's just that simple. It's not going away.
Do you think that the president is potentially one of those people?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Are they trying to cover up for the president?
I asked Kash yesterday, point blank. I said, who else, if anyone, besides Epstein, were these young women trafficked to? And he said, nobody. It's not in our files. Now, and that's fine. I'm not saying he's lying. I don't know one way or the other. I'm just saying that after all the rhetoric, they're going to have to release the files and let people decide for themselves.
One of the things that came out in the documents that were given to Congress recently is a copy of this so-called birthday book, of which there is a note from President Trump. President Trump says it's not his signature on that page. Do you think that's plausible?
I have no idea. I'm not a handwriting expert. President Trump and Epstein, in their younger days, were running buddies. Do I think that the Justice Department is covering for President Trump? Honestly, no. I mean, I haven't seen the files, Casey, but I don't think so. But I wouldn't faint from surprise to find out that there are a lot of other important people named in those files. And the American people want to know who they are, and that's perfectly understandable.
Kash Patel today promised that he would investigate the birthday book. Do you believe him when he says that?
Well, he's done nothing to make me disbelieve him. I'll put it that way. I do think that the FBI, or rather the FBI, but also the Justice Department, now that the president has kicked this issue to them, understands they're going to have to release these documents. They've decided to do it piecemeal through a House committee. Frankly, I wouldn't do it that way. I'd rip the Band-Aid off. I'd just put it all out there in front of God and country. The American people, they don't read Aristotle every day. They're too busy earning a living, but they're plenty smart enough to figure this out. But, I'm not in charge.
Why do you think House Republicans blocked the subpoena of the bank records? Isn't follow the money the very first tenet of any investigation like this?
Well, I think the White House is pressured. They pressured the House and they pressured the Senate to let's get past this issue. And I understand that. I'm sure in the White House's mind there are other important things more important things to talk about. But the problem with that is that many people in the administration talked frequently before they became part of the administration, and some afterwards, about how there's some really important people there and involved, and the American people need to know. And now they've got to come clean, and I'm ready to get past it. If it were up to me, I'd just release the documents and let the chips fall where they may. Could the president be mentioned in them? Maybe. Wouldn't be surprised if he was, because he and Epstein many years ago were friends. But we'll never get past this on to other important things until they release the documents.
We are enduring a very difficult national moment right now in the wake of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But you have, like I said, lived a lot of American history. How are you thinking about this moment that we are in now? How do our divisions, how are they the same? How are they different, better, worse than they've been at other difficult points in our history? Can we move through this?
They're worse, in my judgment, at least during my lifetime. I think I'm like most Americans Casey. I'm tired of the ugly. I think we've lost perspective. There are a lot of things in life more important than politics. Whole lot more important. Your kids are a lot more important to you than politics. My son's more important to me than politics. Here's what happened. Here's what's happened. In part, as a result of social media, people treat others who disagree with them as not just being in error, but in sin. And once you start believing that someone who disagrees with you is evil, then violence against that person that you disagree with can seem like justice. You lose all perspective. Now, most Americans aren't like this, but many are. And many of them, the social media, which promotes this, puts them over the edge. Look, I'm not blaming it all on social media because I believe in free will and responsibility. But there's no denying that social media has lowered the cost of being an a-hole. People say things on that computer they wouldn't say to another human being's face, and it's just become rage bait, and we need to address it. But in terms of how to stop hate, I'm going to tell you something. I don't know whether you pray. I do.
I do.
And when I talk to my God, every single time I ask God, don't let me hate. Because it's hard. We get in the middle of all this, and we have strong opinions, and we disagree. But you can't let yourself hate. And you've got to constantly remind yourself of that. And you know, I don't have any solution except try to exercise some self-control. Now, you played the hearings from the Judiciary Committee with the director of the FBI and the House members, and the same thing happened yesterday. When you have adults acting like kids fighting in the back of a minivan and screaming at each other and calling each other everything but an ignorant slut, that doesn't help. Because a lot of this does start at the top.
All right, Senator John Kennedy, I really appreciate your time.
Good to see you, Casey.
It's great to see you. I hope
Love your show.
Thank you.